This is part 3 of Lab 1, starting on page 5 of the handout. You should take time to read the scale section of page 5. It'll help for you to understand how scale works with paper size, and best for you just to read through that and do a little practice on it. I'm not going to cover that here. So at this point we're just going to jump right in to first creating a title block, and a title block is a family, so you'll get a little experience working with the concept of families. We're going to create a title block that'll work with 11 by 17 paper, as that's the paper size you'll have most readily available to you in this class to print to. So best to create title blocks for different paper sizes. 48 inch, or I should say 36 by 48 is a typical full-size architectural seat, but we're going to do 11 by 17. Okay, so to start that, what we want to do is go up to our Revit icon in the upper left-hand corner and do New. And under New, we're going to do Title Block. And that will open up kind of a very basic template. So we're going to find here 11 by 17 or 17 by 11. And this should just pop up this screen. This is located under the hard drive, program data, Autodesk, and under our title blocks folder. So we'll click on that, open it, and it opens a new screen. A few things are different here. I guess the first thing to notice is our ribbon changed. So what this opens is kind of like a AutoCAD version of Revit that lets you draw very similar to how you would draw things in AutoCAD. We have a Create tab for drawing lines, doing some dimensioning, text work, and insert, view, manage, and modify. Okay, so a little bit different system. We still have our properties window and our project browser. In our main window, what opened up with this template file is just a basic rectangle drawn with some lines. And let's do a quick measure on this just to see what we have. So come up above to the quick access toolbar and do the measure. And let's go from this end to this end, and we see it's 17 inches. And here to here is 11. So what that tells us is this rectangle represents the edge of the paper, and what we want to do with this is create a border around the edge with title block information along this right side edge. So basically all we're doing is creating some additional line work, playing with some line weights, and creating some text work. So not too difficult. First thing let's do before we get too far is save this as a drawing name. I like to do that right away so you don't forget, and when it prompts you to save, then we already have it set up. Best to save, if possible, to a folder that you've created on your hard drive, or put a folder on a desktop. If you just save to the desktop, you probably notice that it'll create a bunch of files. That's because it auto saves every so often, and so what you'll end up is a cluttered desktop. So if you don't mind that, that's fine. but I'd get in the habit of trying to be organized and save your drawings and files to locations that make sense. So I'm just going to do a save as, and this will stay as a family because it's a block that we're going to use in other throughout other drawings as we import this title block. So for now, let's see, I'll just create a desktop, and I'm just going to create a folder on my desktop and rename it, call it Revit, and we'll just save everything there, and I'll call this SRS, my initials so I know who it belongs to, and we'll just say custom title block. Okay. Alright, so this title block, as I mentioned, is going to be fairly simple. So probably the easiest thing to do, various ways to skin the cat, but I like using the modified tools as much as I can and kind of copy and duplicate things. So in this case, I'm going to create a 1/2 inch border around this, and so I'm just going to use the offset command. So up here in the ribbon in the modified tab, click the offset, and notice we get this option bar. So this will pop up a lot, we'll use it a lot, so get in the habit of always taking a look at the option bar. So I'm going to do a numerical offset of 1/2 inch, and I want to copy whatever I'm offsetting. Alright, so if we come down now to our drawing, you notice if I hover my cursor over a line, if I kind of move it one way or the other, it creates a dashed line, either top or bottom, or one side to the other side. That's given me a preview of where the offset line wants to go. So in this case, I'm just going to hover it here and click, and click, and click, and click. Okay, I'm going to escape out of that. And up in the Modify ribbon, there's another handy tool called Trim and Extend to Corner. I often refer this as to the Fillet tool. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to just fillet or trim and extend the corner, each of these. Okay, so now we have a 1/2 inch border, and let's make that border a little thicker from our paper edge. And so let's zoom back out, and I'm going to select all of these. Notice when you're selecting too, if you select one direction, it creates a window box that's solid, and if you go the other direction, it's a window box dash. Dash means anything that crosses will be selected, and window means everything within the window will be selected. So we can do something like this, grab all those, and I'm going to change the subcategory of the properties of that line. I'm going to do this drop down box and select wide line. Let's make these wide lines and apply that. So from here it doesn't look like much, but let's zoom in, and now we can see that indeed this is a little wider. And let's make it wider yet. So what we're going to do is go into our manage of our ribbon and select object styles, And under title blocks we have medium, thin, and wide lines. And let's change this just a little wider. Let's do the drop down. Right now it's 5. We'll change it to 7. And let's click on apply just to see what happens. So watching the screen off to the right, and we should see that thicker line get thicker yet. Alright, that looks pretty good. So in Revit, they use a what you see is what you get. So whatever you see on the screen is typically what you're going to get when it prints. So we will get this wider line printing about this width when we print it out. Okay, let's create an area on the right here, and we'll go back to our modify for our text work. I'm going to create some boxes and using the same method. So offset, I'm going to do 1/2 inch and then another 1/2 inch like that, and then I'm going to go back up to here the offset options, and let's do 2.75 inches or 2 3/4, and I'm going to offset here and here. Now I need to clean up this a little bit, so let's just go ahead and trim this. So there is a trim command here up in the modify tab of the ribbon. We got to trim and extend single or multiple. So I'm going to do multiple. And again, you can watch the little video and read about what needs to take place on a trim. It explains how to use it. Or you can click it, and down below here in the command line it tells us select a reference as to trim extend boundaries. So once to select a reference line first, and so here's our reference, and now it's asking select a line or wall to trim extend. So we want to select these two lines, and they want you to select, click on the part you want to keep. So everything is very, they have a lot of great tool tips and information on what you need to do. So we want to keep this side, so we'll click here and click here and then exit out of the command. Alright, so now we've got a simple title page with a border and some areas to put some text work. To create some labels, we're going to go to the Create tab in the ribbon and select the label. Now the difference is this label is going to be based on a parameter that it takes from the information it has about the drawing that you've set up. So in other words, it'll be smart and change and update as you insert it for different sheet numbers, project names, who draws it, and such things like that. So click on label, and let's make sure we justify it align center and also center middle. And then just click anywhere in the drawing, and you're going to get a dialog box that's edit label. And over here on the left, scroll down and let's pick project name, and bring that project name over to the right side by clicking this add parameters button, and then click OK, and then escape twice out of here. Okay, so we're going to do a little editing to this before we place it and do other ones. So select this project name that you just created, and over in the properties notice that it has a type called tag 1. We want to create our own custom one. So let's do edit type over in properties, And the first thing we want to do, get in the habit of doing this, we'll do this pretty much every time, is duplicate, because we don't want to edit tag 1. We want to leave it the way it is, so it'll always be there and unchanged. But we want to create a duplicate and modify its properties. So let's call this one your initials again, so you know who created it, who it belongs to, and we'll call it title text. Let's change this. Go ahead and leave the text font as Arial, and let's change the text size to 1/8 inch, and let's also make it bold, and I think everything else is fine, so say OK, and so we get a little different look here for our text. So now what we're going to do is take this text and place it over here. So we'll just highlight it, hover your mouse till you get the move symbol. Let's move it over. Let's rotate it. And notice it kind of pauses at 90. So you know exactly where 90 is. As you move it around, just kind of slow up and it'll kind of click into place. And we'll stick it here. Okay. Zoom in a little bit, get this a little more even between this here. I'll come out. There we go. And I'm going to grip this and drag it out a little further here. About right there. And then move it. That way if our project name goes wider, it will stay within the box. If it goes outside the box, it'll create a double line. Alright, so now whatever our project is named, this will update to the project name. We want to do the similar thing for client name, date, drawn by, sheet name, and sheet number. And you can go through the same process, or I think a little quicker way is just to use the select, hold down the control, and then drag and drop and copy it basically, and then come in to here, and we need to go into once you select it, go into the properties, and this time though click under the label edit, and we're going to change this one, so let's get the project name out of there, and for this one we're going to do say sheet name. So let's go down here, we'll do sheet name, bring that over and click OK. So now this box will get the sheet name. So do the same thing for these other ones, and when you get all done you should have it look something like this. I'm going to switch here between completed title block. Alright, so we should have it set up similar to this with project name, sheet name, client name. This is the date, time stamp. This is the drawn by. Take a quick look. I think that's drawn by. Yes, drawn by. And also the sheet number. Sheet number. Okay, so that should get you a title block, and then make sure you save it when you're done. And we'll use this throughout the semester to put our various drawings on. When you're done with your title sheet, go ahead and close it by just closing the window here. We'll go ahead and save that. And then reopen our basic sample project that we've been working on, the one that we worked on in part 1 and 2. Should have your initials in front of it. So what we're going to do here is create some sheets now. Before we do that, let's go into Manage, and we're going to update some project information and project units. So project information, click on that, and from here we can put things like the client name and project name, project number, and various things like that. So for, let's see here, author, let's change this to your name. And client name, let's change this to ECIV 309. And project name, we'll do Lab 01 Basic Project. And I think that might be it. These other ones we don't need to worry about project number or anything for now. So make those changes, hit OK. You notice on this title sheet we already have some updates because this title sheet that they built had these labels, and so it updated it to our project name and so forth. Alright, also in Manage in the ribbon, select the project units, and we've been working in millimeters. So let's change these to inches and feet, something we're a little more familiar with in the United States. So units, we want to do feet and fractional inches. And we'll round to the nearest, how about 1/8 of an inch. And area, we typically work in square feet, so we'll change that. Decimal places, we'll just say 0 for now. Volume, we usually work in cubic feet or cubic yards, so you can do either or. Let's do cubic feet for now. And angles, degrees, that's fine. Slope, we'll leave that as degrees for the moment. Currency, can leave that. And then mass density, let's change that to pounds per cubic foot. And I think that's it, so hit OK. And so nothing really changes on the plan other than now all the annotation will be labeled as feet and inches. It just converts it for you. So that's a nice feature. Now we're going to create a sheet, bring our title block, and put a few of our views on that sheet. So down here in the project browser, expand the sheets category, and there's already some sheets built into this sample project that we've been working with, and that's all fine. We're going to walk through and teach you how to create a new one just so you know how these sheets get created. So on the sheets, right click and click New Sheet. And here we're seeing select title blocks, and we don't see ours, so we're going to have to load it and come back to wherever you saved it. In my case, I have it out in my own directory. And here we go. Okay, so take your title block, hit OK. Placeholder sheets, new, that's fine. Hit OK. And it's going to open up a new sheet. Labels it as A002, unnamed. But notice that it brought in the information and filled in all the data that we needed. Authors didn't update for some reason. Let's see, we can change that a couple places. Right here, drawn by, we could change it here in the properties, or even an easier way is just click on author here, click on it twice, and then type your name in. And remember to click outside the box, don't hit enter, and there it updates. Okay, let's rename this practice sheet instead of unnamed. So I'm going to come over here and right click on the sheet and do a rename. It pops up. I can either change the number and the name. I'm going to leave the number the same, and we're going to call this practice sheet. Okay, that updates there. Alright, so now we have everything we need in our title block, and we're ready to insert what we want to see in this main view here. The first sheet we're going to bring into this is the level 1 north. So to do that, what I want to do, we'll keep the practice sheet open as we see here, and on level 1 north, let's apply a template, and let's do our sans furniture. For this, I want to see that you set this up, so we'll hit that, OK. So that should take the furniture off. And over here in the project browser, just grab this level 1 north with your left mouse click and drag and drop it right onto the sheet over here on the main window and place it. And there, it actually just brought in our north level 1 view that we created. And we need to do some cleanup work by changing the scale because it doesn't quite fit, and also playing with the crop box. So first I'm just going to let's see, grab this crop box. Let's make sure the crop boxes are on, and we see everything that we need. But what we need to do is change the scale. So to get this to fit on here a little better, we need to change the scale. If we grab this and move it, you can just see it's just too big, won't fit. So to change the scale, with this selected, we need to right click in this view and activate the view. And then down below here, we need to change our scale, and I know by practice that this one we're going to do 1/16 of an inch equals 1 foot. And then once that scales down, we are going to deactivate the view by right-clicking. And then now we can grab this and move it into place up here like so. And we can also grab just this line and move it up, our little label. Line's a little big here, so we need to grab the whole thing again, and notice that we get some grips on this line that we can now select and drag over. And so that's looking a little better. We still have a little bit of conflict going on here, so let's go back in, select this, right click, go to activate view, and now we're looking at that view. So let's make sure we can see. There it is. You got to kind of move your cursor around till we see the, or actually here what I want to do is grab this legend. Let's move it over to the left a little bit, and I think that's good. I was going to play with the crop box. That's if you see this line, we can change our crop box to if we need to, but in this case we don't really need to do much, so we'll just leave it like that and deactivate the view. Alright, so that's what I want to see on the top of this, and now we're going to put a different view on the bottom half of the sheet. For this bottom half, we are going to put an elevation view of the south side of the building. And so over here in Project Browser, expand elevations, building elevation, and south. Let's try to bring this in. We'll see what happens. So grab the south, drag it, and drop it. And it comes up and says that this view is already placed on sheet A103. So it doesn't let you place views on multiple sheets. So we're going to have to create a copy of that. So go ahead and close out of there. And let's go back on Project Browser, right click on South, and let's duplicate it. Just do a total duplicate of it. And it's called Copy of South. And that's fine. We'll just leave it as that. We'll come back into our practice sheet. Now we'll take Copy of South and drag and drop and put it here. Okay, let's right click on this, go activate view, and change its scale to 1/16 by 1 foot, and then deactivate it and grab it and drag it into place here. Looks about right. Might need to play around with some of this, move it a little bit. Let's move this up a little bit and grab that, move it up. And we'll grab this line. Oops, grab the wrong thing. Just grab the line itself, move it over. And bring this over here. Okay, let's do one more thing here. So we're looking at the south side of the building, and the reason I had you bring this in is I want to check your work on this wall. We changed to a brick facade, and so I want to be able to see that when you print it, that it is indeed brick. And I think just leaving it as the shaded view is fine. we could also activate this view if we needed to and come down and play with the visual style. And right now it should be shaded. Let's see. Looks like it was. I'm just playing around with the different visual styles. Right now it's trying to apply a realistic, so it's taking time because there's so much information of trees. So let's not do that. Just want to show you that you can change it around, but this will take a lot of ink. So let's do, this was actually a hidden line previously, and I think let's leave it at that. So leave it as a hidden line. Come in here, deactivate the view, and I think we should be good on that. Okay, so this is what I want to see on your sheet that you're going to print and hand in for credit. Show me that you've made a title block, that you've created a north section, put it in, that you've changed the wall to the brick and shown that in elevation. Make sure that your name is on here and that all these other labels are correct for lab and the practice sheet and the name here, ECIV 309, and the timestamp. And you should be ready to print now. So that's the next part of this lab, is to finish up is the printing. So you can print to a printer directly or print to PDF. PDF's nice. I like doing that because then you can kind of look at it and save it, and then you can always print the PDF at a later time. So we're going to just print to PDF just to show you the process here. So make sure you save this before you go any further, so everything's locked into place. And then let's go up to the Revit application icon and find a print, and we're going to do print. It's asking some information about the printer. So once you get the print dialog box, now we get to tell it in the name to print to Adobe PDF rather than a printer. Okay. Combine multiple selected view sheets into a single file. That's fine. Here it's asking where do we want to put this. So I'm going to browse out for now, and let's just put it on desktop, and we'll call it SRS Basic Project. And what do we want to print? We want to print the current window. Actually, we want to select selected views and sheets. That's what we want. Okay. So this gives us a little more options of what we want to do. So we're going to click select, and then let's do none. Make sure nothing's selected. So here is all the different things we can print, and make sure that none is selected, and then go and let's find our sheet, practice sheet, select that. And click OK. Okay, and under options, we want to choose setup. pick our paper size, so we want to do 11 by 17. Okay, that's fine. We want to do landscape. We want to center it. Vector processing is fine. And we want to zoom 100% and click all the hide options. So hide down here, hide, hide, and hide here. So make sure all 4 of these hide options are checked. And what else? Raster quality, that's fine, leave it as high. We could do colors. Let's do grayscale on this. And that should do it. So once we get all this set up, then I like to do a save as so we don't have to do this all the time. And I'm going to call this Adobe PDF 11 by 17. Clicks OK. And I think that's good. So click OK here. And make sure everything is checked right here, and we're ready. So let's go ahead and click OK again. Revit will use raster printing because this view uses shaded shadows, point clouds, gradients. Okay, so that's fine, no problem. So close out of that. It's asking where we want to put this, so let's just put it on our desktop and just call this whatever. I'm just going to call it SRS Lab 01 Basic Project. Okay, as a PDF, save it. It's generating a PDF. And there we go. Created a PDF. Let's open that up real quick. And here's what we get. A nice grayscale version and ready to print. So you can save this, take it with you, or at this point in time, print it out to a printer for turn in for credit for the assignment. Alright, so that concludes Lab 1. And you need to print this sheet out, turn it in for credit, and hopefully by now you feel a little more comfortable and confident with Revit and getting around and doing a little work. So for Lab 2, we're going to start our first project from scratch and a custom home that we're going to design throughout, and so look forward to that. And a little bit of a steep learning curve for the first few weeks, and then hopefully things will flatten out a little bit, get a little easier. So if you have questions, please come see me, and we'd certainly be glad to go over stuff with you. Alright, see you for Lab 2.